What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of History Behind the Horror. And for today's video, we will be talking about Ellis from Left 4 Dead. Now, this character was highly requested to my surprise because I was thinking rather Coach or Lewis or Bill will be one of the favorites that you guys recommend, but you guys shockingly recommended Ellis, so we're going to be doing him today. And remember, if you guys want to see more Left 4 Dead survivors or any other special effects, make sure you give this video a like, make sure you share it, and also put in the comments for what you want to see next. It don't even have to be a Left 4 Dead video. Just let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll make sure I get it out there for you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Ellis, also known as El, is one of the 4 playable survivors in Left 4 Dead 2. He is also the youngest of the group. A junior mechanic by trade in the city of Savannah, he presents himself as a goofy, beer-loving country guy with an artless and sometimes naive worldview. According to Chet from Valve, he is extremely excited about everything like managing to visit a concert and being able to kill a lot of zombies, occasionally doing both at the same time, like in the Dark Carnival finale. Personality-wise, Ellis is open, friendly, inclusive, and highly, even unrealistically optimistic, similar to Lewis from the first game. In common with most young men, he is a risk taker and believes himself to be indestructible. He is also easily distracted, often breaking into rants about things that have nothing to do with the current situation, far-fetched stories about his friend Keith, and indulging in a flight fantasy about marrying Zoey and taking off on a cross-country road trip, all at the most inconvenient of times.
I ever tell you about the time me and Keith made homemade bumper car ride with riding mowers in his backyard? Mower blade wounds over 90% of his body. Keith lived in a graveyard once for a whole year. It wasn't a dare or nothing, he just got kicked out of his house. He said he never saw a single ghost except this one time. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith Jones got off the man to live? I mean, I don't know anybody like that story, but there was houses and they big story about the time my buddy Keith was
Age 23, hometown, Savannah, Georgia. Ellis is a mechanic with a love of life, a firm belief in his own immortality, and the ability to treat any setback as a fun dare to impress his friends. Born and raised in Savannah, Ellis divides up his time working at a local garage, hanging out with his buddies, and dropping by for Sunday dinners with his mom. Then the zombies had to go and spoil it. Now Ellis is looking for new things to occupy his time and finding plenty. It turns out the zombie apocalypse is one big dare, and there's no shortage of crazy stuff he can try to impress his new buddies. Ellis' irrepressible optimism leads to some mixed relationships with the other team members, who cannot figure out if Ellis is genuinely oblivious to the dangers they face, or if he has a slightly resilient, tough-minded personality who chooses to mask or defend it behind a lighthearted surface persona. Whatever is supposed to be the truth, Ellis presents to his fellow team members the view that the zombie apocalypse is a thrill adventure, while his open and friendly nature allows him to form affectionate bonds with his teammates effortlessly. Ellis is quick to claim everyone as his friends, as he will sometimes say, "This is what friends are for," when using a medkit, or tell a fallen teammate, "I ain't leaving you." And he mourns the most when any member of the group dies. In overall terms, Ellis can be viewed as the group's little brother. Although his seemingly obliviousness to the severity of the situation implies that he is rather naive or even unintelligent, this view is incorrect. He is not stupid, as he proves many times over in combat, and most notably when he comes up with a plan of using Jimmy Gibbs Jr.'s car to escape the mall. Coach and Ellis, both being natives of Georgia, get along well together and have a shared useful understanding of local culture, which enables them to navigate Savannah and to make life-saving connections with Jimmy Gibbs Jr., the Midnight Riders, and the Whispering Oaks Amusement Park. However, being true to his profession, Coach is inclined to treat Ellis as an immature rookie team member on many occasions. While he seems to care about the kid, he is not above making at least one condescending judgment about Ellis not being right in the head, or telling the original survivors that Ellis can be left behind to make room for them. But Coach could be joking, right?
coach. I knew this guy who was trying to set the world record on staying on a Ferris wheel.
We ain't got time for this, Ellis.
Cola!
Nope.
Mother...
Safe house up ahead! Cola!
That has been a fantasy of mine for a long, long time.
Nick generally patronizes Ellis and makes fun of him on several occasions, most particularly in the early campaigns, when Nick does not yet fully respect Ellis' fighting ability. For example, when the player looks at Ellis while playing as Nick and uses the vocalize button, sometimes Nick will say Ellis' name in a mocking accent.
Hey, Ellis. You like taters?
There's never any outright aggression in Nick's stance, and this can be construed as simple alpha male banter designed to put Ellis in his place in the pecking order. In return, Ellis never takes offense and even seems to look up to Nick a bit, starting conversations with him such as having the same suit or sometimes being excited at Nick shooting the helicopter pilot. Once his position in the group is secure, Nick will begin to compliment Ellis on his shooting or engage him in small talk such as asking if the Midnight Riders are any good. Although it may seem that Nick is less caring towards the younger man, he has a soft spot for Ellis. As well, if Ellis dies, Nick will sometimes apologize for his behavior. Ellis is always sad to see Nick die. The only time Ellis is really angered by Nick occurs in an argument over the relative merits of horses for riding or asks for food. Ellis also may sometimes call the spitter Nick's mom or his ex-girlfriend. Overall, Ellis sees Nick as a very good friend, as in the passing when he suggests that the two of them get a tattoo with bros on it, or when he responds to Nick's exclamation of, "I hate you, Ellis," with, "Well, I still like you, Nick."
I like Squidward.
Rochelle is the most forbearing towards Ellis, referring to him as sweetie whenever Ellis trails off into one of his long-winded stories about Keith. Although Rochelle seems to have a more realistic grasp of the situation and often sides with Nick, she never patronizes Ellis and is always patient with him. Much of this can be attributed towards the fact that she is some years older than Ellis, better educated, is used to dealing with different classes of people in her professional media career, and has more world experiences. Ellis is unfailingly polite towards Rochelle, referring to her as the outdated Miss honorific throughout the first Dead Center chapter. Rochelle perceives Ellis as a non-threatening, what you see is what you get kind of character, and this explains why Ellis is the only one who is able to make her laugh. Overall, there's a big sister-little brother relationship, and this is why Rochelle stands up to Nick when he picks on Ellis' crush on Zoey and tells Ellis that in order for him to win Zoey's heart, you just be your sweet self. He does tend to be closer to Rochelle than his fellow teammates.
Pills here! Pills! Grabbing pills.
Oh, hell yeah!
Go on! Do it one more time!
Well, piss!
Ellis has a huge crush on Zoey. He considers it love at first sight. Coach and Nick tease Ellis about liking Zoey, but Rochelle defends him. Ellis states that he is a nervous wreck when thinking about Zoey and will even tell the others he wants to marry her. In the beginning of the past scene, when Ellis tries to talk to Zoey, he will sometimes stutter and ask someone else to talk to her because he is so nervous. When leaving, Ellis will show sadness in having to leave Zoey and wishes to see her again. To some extent, Zoey feels the same attraction, but not to the same degree as Ellis. On their first encounter, when Ellis crumbles into tongue-tied love-struck embarrassment, she is never anything other than all business. However, at the end of the campaign, Zoey thaws somewhat and may wistfully wonder if she will ever see Ellis again, or whether it would have been a better idea to team up with Ellis's group.
She is so beautiful. She is so beautiful. So beautiful. Folks call me Ellis. I run an auto shop with a couple of my buddies. We're also in a band. Man, oh man. I jumped Jimmy Gibbs' car through a plate glass window and I just met the prettiest girl I ever seen.
Yeah, look, Alice, all women are emotional wrecks who will eventually kill you, okay?
Ellis, it's showtime, buddy.
Nice car, dude.
Well, thanks. Do you know what sucked the head? Because I came down here with Keith once, and he didn't know. And, I mean, it ain't nothing bad. It's about eating. I ever tell you about the time me and Keith filled up water balloons with our own?
We ain't got time for this, Ellis.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith fell down an open manhole? He was unconscious down there for like a week. During that time, unbeknownst to Keith, they paved over him. Keith had to...
Ellis, sweetie, can this wait?
One time, the Army bombed my buddy Keith. He went camping and didn't bother to read the signs, and I guess they were just testing bombs that day. All sorts of stuff, too, not just regular bombs. Like biological nerve gas bombs, shrapnel bombs, these bombs that break up into the air to like 100 smaller bombs.
Ellis?
I ever tell you about the time Keith tried to deep fry turkey? Third-degree burns over 90% of his body. His doctor called up, like other doctors, to look at him because they'd never seen burns on top of existing burns. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drove his car off a cliff but broke his legs? It's not a funny ha-ha story so much as it's a make-you-think story. For instance, windshields look pretty durable, right? Yeah, not the case according to Keith. Son of a bitch flew right through that sucker. My buddy Keith tried camping out on top of a building once. He was shooting crows, but the police were too busy tear gassing him to ask what he was doing up there. He screamed for an entire year every single time he opened his eyes. Oh man, at first it was funny, then it just got sad, but then it got funny again. Oh man. I ever tell you about the time me and Keith made homemade bumper car rides with ride mowers in his backyard? Mower blade wounds over 90% of his body. I didn't run him over either. He somehow managed to fall under his own. I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drowned in the Tunnel of Love? You wouldn't think it could happen because the water's so shallow, but that's how it gets you, man. Overconfidence. Keith was with his lady at the time, and he was yelling for her to save him, but she didn't want to get wet. I ever tell you about the time me and Keith snuck a paintball guns on a roller coaster? I never heard of anybody else doing it, so I thought we might invent a sport. So Keith called the patent office, but
Ellis,
I ever tell you about the time Keith and I made fireworks? I didn't know shit about chemistry, but Keith figured gasoline burns, doesn't it? Third-degree burns on 95% of his body. Man, people in the next city over were calling to complain about the smell of burning skin.
Ellis?
Jimmy Gibbs Jr. is the man. I mean, I don't know anybody like that, man. But there was this guy I knew. He raced dirt tracks, not stock cars, but open-wheel cars, you know? And he was racing once. And a goat.
Ellis, sweetie, can this wait?
Okay, but there was a goat. Man, all this mud reminds me of Fred Keith. Yeah, he was gonna build a shack once to live in and all. And I know most people here, they build houses and they become shacks. But Keith, he was about jumping right to the shack stage. But he had no wood, so he got some mud and was making what we were all thinking was gonna be these adobe bricks, you know, like when them people out west made bricks and shit. Well, he had mud and
Ellis,
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith got rolled by a gator in a swamp? Man, he didn't agonize it or nothing. We were just trying to grab two so we could piss him off and get him into a fight. Well, anyway, the third time Keith went under, I realized something was wrong. So
Ellis?
I ain't never been in sugarcane field before. I mean, I seen them and all, but no real reason to go into one. But now you go into a peach grove, you find all sorts of cool shit. This one time, I was in a...
We ain't got time for this, Ellis.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith and I were on top of a burning building, and we had to fight our way down like 5 floors of zombie? Wait a second. I guess that was you guys. Oh, shit, man. I can't wait to tell Keith about that one.
And that yet ends another episode of History Behind the Horror. Now, I have to admit that this was probably the most fun I've had making a History Behind the Horror video in a very long time. And I also have to admit that Ellis was my least favorite Left 4 Dead character, but after doing this video, he is now my top character that I pick in Left 4 Dead 2 now. He is hands down the most interesting character out of all 4 of these characters, and he's the most interesting character out of Zoey, Bill, you know, the whole Left 4 Dead 1 cast. So if you guys enjoyed this video and you would like to see more survivors or any other Left 4 Dead content on this channel, make sure you give this video a like. I base them off likes and I base them off the shares. And if you want to go ahead and go to the comment section and see what you want to see next, put it down there. I will see which one has the more requests, and I will try to get that video out as soon as I can. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you on the next episode of History Behind the Horror.